Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Sri Banerjee, a certified astrologer, and I wanted to go over in this segment about some of the good and bad transits in Vedic astrology. Now, what is interesting about Vedic astrology is most of the predictions and positive and negative sort of aspects are only looked at the natal chart. Transits are not handled in much thorough detail. But I'll give you some tips and pointers on how to judge some of the houses and the strengths of the houses. There's actually multiple calculations that are looked at, complex calculations, in order to create the strength of houses. So let's go ahead and get started here. I wanted to use real-life examples. This is my personal Rashi chart, which means that wherever the ascendant is, that's the first house. So this is the first house, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th. So the rule of thumb is that wherever the ascendant is within the house, that is automatically considered the first house. This is a bit different than what we see in Western astrology. So, if you have a positive transit or a negative transit, this determines how the planet is turning out. So, for instance, a positive transit for the sun would be 3, 6, 10, 11. These are houses, 3, 6, 10, 11. And then negative transits would be the rest of the houses. Now, similar planets, similar transits are seen in Mars, Rahu, and Ketu. So all the positive and negative signs are the same. And then if you're looking at other houses, the transit of the houses, not transit of the signs. So if you're going through the houses, then the moon is 1, 3, 6, 7, 10, 11 is positive transits. I already said Mars, Sun, Rahu and Ketu are similar. There's some differences. Jupiter is positive transit 2, 5, 7, 9, 11. Saturn is 3, 6, 11 is positive transit. Mercury is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. Venus positive transit is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, 11, 12. And then Rahu and Ketu is 3, 6, 10, 11. So this is again my transit chart of today, which is May 22nd, 2023. And as you can see, the sun is transiting in the second house, and this murti means that that's ranking of how the planet is performing. So because it's silver, then it's not too bad. Now the moon is in Jan or birth, and it's actually in a good place in the first house. Mars currently is not necessarily in a good house. It's called Vipat, or danger, and Swarno, golden, which means that from a Murti system, it's not in a bad house. Mercury is Sampat, or wealth, and Rajat, silver, is the ranking of the house, and it's transiting the first house. Now Jupiter, Hema, or well-being. Tamra is the copper, and that's one of the ones that are unfavorable. And looking at also here, it's not in a good sign. And then Venus is Janma, birth. Is the Tara. Tamra is copper, again unfavorable. However, in this system, it's actually good. Saturn, Vipat, which is also corresponded to Loha, or iron, and that's in the 9th house. Rahu, obstacles. Ketu is birth, and so on and so forth. So let's go back into the Rashi chart, which is also where the ascendant starts on. And so again, this is all organized in the same way. Another system I wanted to go over in order to judge the the strength of the signs is the Bhinna Ashtaka Varga chart. So this goes into a composite index. So any house that's over about 45 score performs better. So, for instance, for me, the ninth house is actually much lower than many of the other houses. Between 19 and 45, there's a huge difference. So typically when a planet transits one of the weaker houses, that's difficult for them. A lot of obstacles. Now, you can go into each of the planets and see which ones are afflicted ones. So natally, the planet, the sun is actually in the ninth house. Here the score isn't too high. Typically 8 is a good score. This is 3. Now in the seventh house, there's a score of 0. I'm going to show you what a score of 0 represents. The score of 0 actually depends on the planet. So this is the sun. So the sun causes potentially death or equivalent troubles for me, especially in this house, in the 8th house. For the moon, similar sort of situation in the 7th house at 1, and then Mars 0. So as you can see, anything less than 8, 1, 0, these have less strength. So there's actually bar charts that can be calculated as well. So just going into something that will apply to your chart as well. Moon, the Mars I already said, Sun I already said death or equivalent troubles. Moon is sorrow and anxiety, unexpected death. Mars is stomach ache, fainting, eye disease, death. And this might be in the houses that they're afflicted. Mercury, loss of everything, enemies, and consequent death. Jupiter, loss of wealth or relations or children becoming dull. Venus, when it's 0, all kinds of calamities. And Saturn, loss of everything, probability of death. So if any of the houses end up being 0, there's a higher potential of this. But this is not something that is a end-all be-all. There's actually more facets that you can look at. For instance, you can look at the Mahadasha, look at the natal chart, the placement of the planets, and then take a look at the transits. This is the order, and then look at the nakshatras. These are the order in which these should be observed. So I hope this has given you some insight on how to understand transits in a different way. Thank you for listening.